What is vulnerability to climate change? According to the IPCC, vulnerability is the propensity or predisposition to be adversely affected. Vulnerability comprises a variety of concepts including sensitivity or susceptibility to harm and lack of capacity to respond and adapt. Therefore, vulnerability to climate change can be measured by three factors. Number 1. The degree to which an entity is exposed to climate risk. For example, a house located on the shores of the coast in a low-lying area is much more vulnerable than the one located in much higher inland area. Island countries are more exposed to storms, hurricanes, and also to sea level rise. Number 2. The likelihood that the entity that is exposed to the weather risk will be damaged when the event occurs. An example is a house with low soils in a coastal area. It's more vulnerable than the one with high pillars above sea level. A real-life example are such countries with infrastructure that is less resilient to floods or earthquakes. Number 3. The capacity to recover or avoid damage of the entity that is exposed to climate risk that will be damaged when the event occurs. A house that can be moved out of the flood zones, elevated, or is insured and will be able to recover from the damage caused by the weather event is less vulnerable than the one house that cannot be moved, elevated, or is not insured, as is the case in developing countries that often do not have the economic resources to move human settlements or that do not have the funds to insure repairs for damages caused by climate hazards. In climate change science, this is called adaptation. Many organizations and institutions around the world are in charge of studying the levels of vulnerability to climate change of countries. An organization that does a thorough and extensive job is German Watch, a German organization that has an annual rank of countries with the highest climate vulnerability. Honduras was positioned in the first place as the country with the highest long-term climate risk for 20 years until 2018, after the damage suffered by Hurricane Mitch, especially due to its low capacity to recover after so much time after the damage caused by the hurricane. Currently, those with the highest long-term climate vulnerability from 2000 to 2019 are the countries of Puerto Rico, Myanmar, and Haiti. This Climate Risk Index, or CRI, takes into account fatalities per 100,000 inhabitants, economic losses in GDP and in millions of dollars, and the number of events in that period of time. As explained before, vulnerability will depend on three things: exposure to climate risk, the likelihood of being affected by this exposure, and finally, adaptive capacity. Adaptation to climate change is the measure of vulnerability on which most work can be done and changes can be demanded. Good management of resources and funds is directly related to a country's capacity to adapt to climate change. Therefore, the management of these resources in these countries that have not been able to recover from natural disasters should be of interest to us, so measures can be taken to protect them from climate change.